Imagine a boy growing up in the dusty streets of undivided India in the 1930s. The sun scorched the ground, but dreams had no borders. This boy's name was Wazir Mohammad, born in 1929 in Junagadh. He came from a humble household where survival was the main challenge, not cricket. Yet even as a child, Wazir would pick up a stick and hit stones across the lanes, pretending he was already facing the best bowlers in the world. But destiny, as always, had its tests. When Partition struck in 1947, millions were uprooted from their homes, and Wazir's family was among them. They left everything behind: their roots, their belongings, their stability, and migrated to the newly born Pakistan. Karachi became their new home, but life was not kind. For a young man with nothing but hope, the city was both a refuge and a battlefield. Wazir belonged to what would later become one of the most iconic cricketing families in Pakistan. His brothers Hanif, Mushtaq, Sadiq, and later Raiz would all play cricket at the highest level. But in those early days, there was no spotlight, no luxury, no recognition. It was pure struggle. Cricket was played on dusty grounds with makeshift equipment. Shoes were scarce, but passion was abundant. And Wazir had something rare: patience and determination. He wasn't the flashiest cricketer, but he was one of the most disciplined. He spent endless hours perfecting his technique, believing that if he could hold the crease, runs would eventually come. It was this patience that would one day define him on the international stage. Life, however, wasn't just about cricket. As the eldest of the Mohammad brothers, Wazir felt the burden of responsibility. He had to guide, protect, and inspire his younger siblings. The family faced financial hardships, but cricket became their shared language of hope. Every run scored on those Karachi grounds felt like a small victory against poverty, against uncertainty, against the doubts of those who thought Pakistan could never produce world-class cricketers. And then came the moment that changed everything. In 1952, Pakistan was granted Test status, and a new chapter of cricketing history was about to be written. For a nation barely 5 years old, this was more than just a sport. It was an identity, a chance to prove itself on the global stage. And Wazir Mohammad, with his grit and unshakable patience, stood at the forefront of this revolution. But before the applause, there were still obstacles. Critics said Pakistan lacked experience, that its players couldn't survive against giants like England and India. Wazir heard those voices, but he never bowed to them. He had already faced greater challenges in life: migration, poverty, sacrifice. Now, he was ready to face the world with a bat in hand. The boy from Junagadh was about to become one of the founding stones of Pakistan cricket's legacy. It was the year 1952, a historic year for Pakistan cricket. The nation had just earned Test status, and the cricketing world looked on with skepticism. Could this young country, barely 5 years old, really compete with the giants of the game? The world doubted, but Pakistan believed. And in the heart of that belief stood a man of steel: patience, Wazir Mohammad. Wazir met his Test debut against India in Lucknow in 1952. It was not just a match, it was a statement. Pakistan, a nation born out of struggle, was now carving its name in cricket. Wazir walked to the crease with the weight of history on his shoulders. The bowlers were fierce, the conditions alien, and the pressure immense. But Wazir's bat was steady. He wasn't flamboyant. He was resilient. He defended with purpose, left with wisdom. And when the chance came, he struck with elegance. Soon, his patience became his greatest weapon. Where others faltered, Wazir endured. His name began to echo as Pakistan's wall of resistance. The man who would not surrender his wicket easily. His innings weren't about fireworks. They were about survival, about discipline, about giving Pakistan the backbone it desperately needed in those formative years. In 1954, when Pakistan toured England, the challenge was monumental. The pitches were green, the skies grey, and the bowlers relentless. Many doubted whether the Pakistan team would even manage to compete. But Wazir, with his quiet confidence, stood tall. His defensive play frustrated English bowlers. His calmness inspired his teammates, and his innings earned respect for a nation still trying to prove itself. One of his most defining moments came at Dhaka in 1954-55, when Wazir Mohammad scored a brilliant 189 runs against India. That innings wasn't just about runs, it was about pride. It was Pakistan's first ever Test century on home soil, and it came from the bat of Wazir. The crowd roared, Karachi celebrated, and suddenly, A new hero had emerged. He had shown that Pakistan could produce batsmen of steel, batsmen who could fight with dignity and grace. This innings didn't just put runs on the scoreboard, it gave hope to a nation. For a people who had lost so much in partition, cricket was healing, and Wazir was a part of that healing. His calm presence at the crease reassured fans that Pakistan was here to stay in world cricket. From then on, Wazir became known as the anchor, the man who held the innings together when storms threatened to sweep it away. He wasn't loud, he wasn't flashy, but he was reliable, and reliability, in those fragile years, was priceless. The boy who once batted with stones in Junagadh was now crafting innings that inspired millions, and this was just the beginning. By the mid-1950s, Wazir Mohammad was no longer just another batsman, he was Pakistan's shield, the man the team relied upon when the innings trembled. His hallmark was patience, his strength was discipline, and his weapon was sheer resilience. His 189 against India in Dhaka remained a masterpiece. But it was not his only act of defiance against the powerful bowling attacks of England, Australia, and the West Indies. Wazir built a reputation that Pakistan could produce batsmen with iron will. In those fragile years of Pakistan cricket, flamboyance was rare, survival was victory, and Wazir embodied that survival. In 1959, Pakistan toured West Indies, a land of fiery fast bowlers and intimidating crowds. Many feared Pakistan would crumble under pressure. But Wazir.com, as ever, stood his ground. Ball after ball, he absorbed the storm, though he was always the highest scorer. His ability to grind down the opposition gave Pakistan credibility. He proved that cricket wasn't only about aggression, it was about courage, patience, and outlasting your opponent. His career might not boast towering numbers compared to modern cricketers, but his impact was far greater than statistics. Wazir was the first Pakistani to score a double century in first-class cricket, setting a standard for his brothers and generations after him. He laid the path that Hanif, Mushtaq, and Sadiq would follow. Perhaps his biggest strength was the example he set. In a family of 5 brothers who all played top-level cricket, Wazir was the eldest, the one who carried the torch first. Hanif Mohammad, the little master, often spoke about how much Wazir's discipline influenced him. Without Wazir's early example, perhaps the Mohammed family dynasty would never have become what it did. In those early decades, Pakistan needed more than entertainers, it needed fighters, men who could build foundations for the future. Wazir's innings were sometimes slow, sometimes criticized for lacking flair, but history remembers them as building blocks of Pakistan's cricketing identity. His knock of 189 was not just a score, it was proof to the world that Pakistan had arrived. Fans began to respect his stubbornness. Bowlers grew frustrated when he refused to give his wicket away. Teammates drew strength from his calmness under pressure. To them, Wazir was not just a batsman, he was a symbol of endurance. Even as younger talents began to rise, Wazir's role as a mentor became crucial. He passed on not only skills, but also values, patience, discipline, and pride in wearing the Pakistan cap. For a young nation, these qualities were priceless. By the late 1950s, Wazir had etched his name in cricketing history. He was not the flashiest, not the loudest, but he was a pioneer, the quiet warrior who gave Pakistan its early backbone. As the 1960s dawned, the world of cricket was changing, but one truth remained: Wazir Mohammad. Wazir Mohammad had already cemented his place as one of Pakistan's founding pillars. His Test career may not have stretched into dazzling heights of statistics, but his influence went far beyond numbers. He was the man who showed Pakistan what patience, grit, and responsibility looked like on a cricket pitch. For his family, he was more than just an elder brother. He was a pathfinder. His discipline and sacrifice created a legacy that his brothers carried forward. Hanif Mohammad, Mushtaq Mohammad, and Sadiq Mohammad would all go on to become celebrated cricketers. But deep inside, they knew Wazir's quiet leadership had paved the way. Without Wazir's resilience in those formative years, perhaps the Mohammed dynasty would never have shined as brightly. For Pakistan, Wazir symbolized the early struggle of a young nation. His batting mirrored the journey of Pakistan itself, born out of hardship, tested by fire, yet standing tall with dignity. Every time he blocked a delivery, every time he occupied the crease, he was teaching Pakistanis a lesson. Success is not always about speed or flair. Sometimes, it is about perseverance. about refusing to give up even when the world doubts you. His legacy became even clearer after retirement, though he stepped away from the pitch. His story continued to inspire young cricketers. Coaches would tell players about his discipline, about how he turned hardship into strength. He became a symbol not only of cricketing endurance, but of life's resilience. Even today, when we look back at Pakistan cricket, we see Wazir Mohammad not as a man chasing glory, but as one who built foundations. He was the silent warrior who absorbed pressure so others could flourish. His 189 at Dhaka is remembered not just as runs, but as courage on display. His ability to endure inspired teammates and generations beyond. And what does his journey teach us? That greatness is not always about headlines. Sometimes it is about holding the line when everything seems to fall apart. Sometimes it is about being the anchor in a storm, the steady hand when chaos surrounds you. Wazir Mohammad's life reminds us that glory fades, but values endure. For the youth of today, his story is a beacon. In a world that celebrates speed, shortcuts, and instant success, Wazir's life whispers a timeless truth. Patience, discipline, and resilience will outlast everything. He was not the loudest, not the flashiest, but he was unforgettable. The boy from Junagadh, who once batted with stones, became a hero for a nation, and his message still echoes across time. Stand tall, endure the storm. Write your story with patience. That is how legends are made.